Dr. Ian Plimer is our guest, and the new book is doing quite well. Very, very excited about that. Folks can get it at Amazon.com in different parts of the world. And we'll tell you more about the book before he leaves us in the final segment. But the book is Heaven and Earth, Global Warming, The Missing Science. Sir, I want to let you get into points you want to cover. I mean, I'm throwing out questions here, but you really are, more and more as I research this, one of the leading experts and also one of the most articulate and inform people on the whole spectrum of what this movement is. The tens of thousands of the scientists per country, the vast majority that say man-made global warming is a fraud and a sham, they mainly argue about the science all day, and you also go over that. But the political nature, the enslavement, the total controlling of the environment and all industry, the religious nature of it, it's really the religion of control freaks, in my opinion. But I've got one question, and then I want to give you the floor and have you go over whatever facets you wish while we have you here today, and we're very thankful. When you go and debate them on TV and radio and print, how do they treat you before you go out on the stage and argue with them? Because it describes in some of these newspaper articles that they're actually very mad at you and saying that you're some type of heretic. And we see news articles not just calling for you to get in trouble, but for other people to be arrested or fined for climate denial. So we also see this Stalinistic attempt to silence free speech.
Well, I think that's a worldwide phenomenon. And worldwide, we are having the media, the newspapers, radio programs, and environmentalists suggest that people should be arrested for having a contrary view. They are demonizing dissent. They are arguing that this view is against humanity, yet no one wants to stand up in public and argue evidence with me. And my scientific view is married to evidence. It's not married to dogma.
Continue. Mr. Plimer?
Yes, I'm having real difficulty hearing you.
Well, you are, how many thousands of miles away are you from the middle of the United States? Is it 10,000, 12,000?
It would probably be 10,000 miles away. I can now hear you, so you must be shouting. Remember, I'm talking uphill. You're talking downhill.
Hey, it's a miracle. It's, I'm still one of these guys that thinks it's neat to be able to put plates in a dishwasher. I'm somebody who still, even though I'm pretty young, I enjoy the modern conveniences of a car or a lawnmower or high-tech things. So I'm very pleased that your phone sounds so good from Australia. But continue, sir, along that line of thinking.
Well, I'm very pleased to be able to eat hot food, to be able to have a hot shower, to be able to keep my house air-conditioned in summertime, to keep it air-conditioned and warm in wintertime, to be able to travel by aeroplane or by car. Don't give me the good old days, because they weren't. And our modern environmental movement wants to get all of the information off television, which uses a huge amount of energy, yet they want to deny us a modern life. That, in my language, is hypocrisy. So don't give me the good old days. They weren't. It is not a sin to be wealthy. It's not a sin to be comfortable. It's not a sin to eat well. I think it is a sin to take away someone's employment, and this is where the environmental movement is going.
Well, as you said, Doctor, if you go back and look at the Royal Commission on Population 49, State Department Memorandum 200, it states that the Western powers wanted to freeze the development of the third world as a part of a hegemonic domination. So whereas in the streets, the modern yuppie, it is a religion, they're disconnected from reality and fools, the progenitors of this carbon tax and carbon tyranny cold-bloodedly know that they're going to kill billions of people in the third world in the aggregate. They know it's going to freeze development. They know it is a vertical integration of the entire economy. I mean, have you ever had one of these guys admit that to you? Because you can read it in some of their books.
Well, they often argue about population as if it's a bad thing. The greatest and easiest way to reduce global population is to make everyone wealthy. And that means in the third world, you won't want to have 13 children, hoping that one will keep you alive in your old age. And I argue very strongly in the last chapter of my book, Heaven and Earth, that in fact the current views of the environmental movement are actually those views of killing people. They get very uneasy when I challenge them on this point, and they have no solution to global population. They will never mention the word that is in their mind, and that is genocide. So I think we're dealing with some people who are chronically unbalanced, yet they have the power of the airwaves, and it's only a few conservative newspapers and television and radio networks that raise the contrary view, and raise it fearlessly.
Now, tell us about the website bravenewclimate.com. Is that a good site to visit to read your material, Doctor?
Well, there's many sites out there. Brave New Climate is one of the numerous sites. I'm fairly reticent to look at websites and blog sites because most of them are not edited, and blogs often are done by people who are a little bit unbalanced. I try to get my knowledge from reading literature that is refereed and has gone through the referee process. And we hear, with this current global warming hysteria, that there is no refereed literature out there saying the contrary view. Well, that's just rubbish. I have 2,311 footnotes in my book, Heaven and Earth. That is from the major literature like Science and Nature and the major journals. And if you dig deep into the scientific literature, there's a huge amount of contrary information. It just doesn't reach the airwaves. And the reason I put out the book Heaven and Earth was to start the debate and to give the average person the confidence that there is a huge amount of science out there that gives an absolutely and totally different view.
Well, Dr. Plimer, I'll tell you what shuts down your average yuppie who's part of the eugenics death cult known as modern environmentalism. I say, why were the ice caps on Mars getting smaller? And now that the sun has cooled off its activity the last few years, they're getting bigger again. Why are moons of Saturn and Jupiter that were frozen methane and other gases, why did they become liquid in areas? Is your SUV causing solar system-wide warming? And then you show them the evidence, and they go, oh, my gosh, obviously the sun is what heats things up, and the sun is a good thing. As you said during Roman times, kind of at the end of the last big warming period, was the Hyborian Maxim or whatever they call it, that you had grapes being grown in central England when you can't grow them there today. I mean, warming is a good thing, but regardless, they're trying to list carbon dioxide as a toxic waste, and I found that most adults don't know that plants breathe carbon dioxide, Doctor.
Well, that's very much the case, and for thousands of years, various civilizations have known that the sun is the bringer of life. The Egyptians had their sun gods. The Mayans and other groups in Central and Southern America had their sun gods. We have known that the sun drives photosynthesis. This is the process where we take carbon dioxide out of the air and put it into plants. Those plants we ultimately eat. Carbon dioxide is not a toxin. It's not a poison. It's not a pollutant. It is the key to life. None of us want pollution of the atmosphere, the soils, and the waterways by particles and dangerous chemicals. But carbon dioxide is plant food. It drives the world. Now, we can see that. You gave examples from in our solar system of global warming driven by the sun. We can look at other stars outside our solar system and look at those planets. And we also see that there's a change in the amount of energy that these stars give out, and that this gives us global warming in other solar systems. So, to me, it's absolutely bizarre that great hot mass in the sky that we call the sun, that we ignore that as the driver of climate, because the sun has always been the driver of life, and, of course, the driver of climate.
Doctor, have you ever thought of the angle that there's a lot of serious environmental stuff that is going on, as you just said, a lot of toxic waste dumping, pollution, things like that, but that by making the whole environmental movement about carbon, it actually becomes a distraction from real environmental problems we have?
Oh, very much so. Look, it's put back the real environmental problems by at least 50 years, and that kills people.
Absolutely. Wow. Well, let's come back and talk more about the book and more about Hitler, the first big environmentalist. Stay with us.